Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Miller. I am a senior cloud advocate for Python at Microsoft. I'm long time, not first time, I guess. I've been a part of San Diego Python for 7, 8 years now. No, I've only been married 8 years, almost nine, so six going on 7 years. And absolutely give most of this community all of the credit for me being where I am today. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about profiling. So I want to start by showing you two images. Folks that do know me or folks that come to the Saturday user group have seen images like these before. This is my static site generator that I run called Render Engine that I've been developing on for 3 years now. And this is the output. I'm using Rich for that. And this is the output ran back to back. I ran it again. And what I noticed was there were some significant swings in time. So I wondered what did I do different? What had changed? Had the code changed? Had anything else changed? And sadly, nothing had changed. I literally just poetry run. Like I did the same thing twice. Got two somewhat different results. About a 5 second difference on performance. I didn't know what was happening, and when I asked one of my colleagues, they said, "Have you run a profiler to see what's happening?" So I said no, of course, because I had not run a profiler. And that's what we're going to talk about for the next couple minutes. And that is, what is a profiler? A profiler is not a timer. Python has some tools already that are good for timing and measuring like benchmarks and things like that. Time it is a good one. A profiler is just like is what it says. It is a profile. It is a way to look and see what is happening in code. So this tells you what's being called, how many times it's being called, how long it takes for those things to be called, all of those different things. And it allows you to start to understand what's happening with your code beyond what you've written. Sometimes that's one of my favorite things to do with profilers now is look at what I've brought into my code and subsequently what is happening to it because of dependencies. So the profiler that we're going to talk about is cProfile and pstats. The reason I want to talk about this profiler and this statistic monitoring tool is because it's built in. So if you're rocking CPython, if you're rocking Python 3, I don't even know, but if you're rocking a mostly modern version of CPython, you will have cProfile and pstats built in. It is in standard library, so you don't have to install anything. And running it is pretty simple. You can just hit, Python-MC profile run, and what you get is what was on the screen, which is a bunch of gobbledygook that I can't make heads or tails of. But there are more informative ways to run this. You can actually run it in line with a script, and what you're wanting to do here is I'm not running it on the actual source code of Render Engine. I'm running it on what I call a project runner. Hey, generate my website. That way I know what's happening with my website and what's being run because of it. And from there, you can do, with cprofile.profile, of course, you will need to import cprofile there. I should have added that. Do some code and then print the stats, and you'll get something similar to this, but it'll be narrowed down to what you ran. Or what I would like to show you, as long as time permits, is what you can look at with pstats when you say, hey, store this profile in an output file. Which, David, am I good? Am I good to show off? Okay, cool. So I'm going to switch over really quick. We're going to switch to a terminal. I have no idea what you're looking at on this terminal. It could be bad. Oh, no, you're actually looking at what this used to look like. And don't worry, I'm going to scale this up a little bit. I'll make this a little bit larger, a little bit easier to read, and we can ignore all that. So we're at my website here. And just to show that there's no tricks up my sleeve, we're going to be running it on routes.py. I'm going to show you what routes.py looks like. It's nothing here about a profile. I don't import C profile or anything like that. So we're going to just do, am I in poetry? I am in poetry. So we're just going to do python-m C profile. We're going to tell it to do, O for an output file. And we're going to call this sdpython.stats. And we're going to call routes.py. And what we should get is, it's still going to run the site. It's still running, which is great. And luckily, since I'm on a Zoom call, it's going to take significantly longer because such is my life. 7 seconds, that's not bad. But what we should now have is, and just to we have an sdpython.stats. So what we can do is we can do python-m pstats sdpython.stats. And what we'll get is this interactive browser similar to a REPL. And inside of that, we can just do, if I type in stats, we're going to get that laundry list of stuff that's hard to read. That's too hard to read. I don't like that. So I'm going to type the word strip. And then now when I run stats, I'm still, stats. I'm still going to get stuff, but it's a little bit more readable. They've basically chopped things down to a more readable model. Now, if I want to actually look and see what's happening, I can actually do some things. I can sort, and it'll tell us, hey, here are a bunch of different things that you can sort by. Let's sort by the number of calls. So we'll do sort by calls, and we'll just do stats 10, and this will give us the top 10 most called things happening. So is instance is getting called 298,000 times across that entire profile being run. Append is being called a lot, so maybe there's some list comprehension stuff that I can implement there. Replace is being called. Maybe I can look at, better methodology in that. There's a lot of these things happening, but you can't really tell what is happening with this. So what I like to do is I like to say stats, or not stats, callers. And we'll do 10, well, it doesn't like 10, but we can actually go up here, and now we can actually see what's calling things as it's happening. Unfortunately, you can't sort callers. But I know what's being called because I built the language, or I built the, static site generator. So what I wanted to do was show me callees in render engine. Well, there we go. And what I can then start to see is a better explanation of what is calling things. So progress.py called get renderables 3 times to progress progress. That makes sense. What I then start to see is, I see all these things happening. I think I can still do sort at this point. Sort and calls. Didn't want to do it, but again, this is why this is an introduction to this. But at the end of the day, I was able to start walking my way through some of these things, and I could see what exactly was being called. And as I saw something, I would just select it, say, oh, that looks odd, and then just do, well, what are the callees or the callers of pages.py? And then I could see that. All right, cool. Pages.py gets called by blog a lot, so then I can grow into that. So ultimately, you can start to then figure out why or what's being called so much and how long it's taking for each call over time. So that's kind of it. I do have a, last steps here, which, jump back to this really quick. In the end, it was Markdown 2 that was causing all the problems. Unfortunately, Markdown 2 is at the source of the whole project. It's converting Markdown into HTML. Kind of can't get around that. What I can do is get rid of some of the extensions that I'm not using, and that should speed it up. Next steps, if you were interested in getting into profiling, again, there's C profile and pstats. There's scaling, which is a module that you can add that will give you a pretty interface for this. I honestly didn't play around with it too much. It actually tends to slow down C profile. It's called C profile because it's written in C, or C++, I think. Um, there is one just called profile that's written in all Python. I've been told that it's slower. It's basically built to emulate C profile, but allows you to create different plugins and extensions and things. And then there is another tool called Austin, which is another profiler. You have to actually install this. Like, it is not a Python module, it is an installable program. And it does come with the cool VS Code plugin, so shout out for work. And with that, that is really where I'm at. So happy to take any questions if there are any.
Hi. Sorry, I just want to ask, could you scroll up to the part where you had your second run? I just want to see the difference in results for that one.
Yes. Now I need to figure out how to share my screen again, but let's do this. Can you see that page there? Or did I do something wrong?
I can't see it yet. But
That may be me. 1 second. How
oh, there
about
you
now?
go.
Yeah.
That's your slide screen, I think.
Yeah. Or were you looking for the actual profile of what was.
Yeah, I was looking for your terminal screen where you had that second run.
Ah, okay, let me. Troubleshooting Zoom. Always a blast. And of course, now it's not wanting me to share anything else. Was there a particular part as my computer has. Uh oh.
Oh no, it's fine. I mean, I could even ask you like offline and stuff for
Sure.
this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, very useful presentation. I think a lot of times when you're looking for error messages and log files, it's really hard to make sense of them. And thank you for showing us how to actually use it to our advantage. That's usually not easy.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage anyone, if you're working on a project and you're. I can't make heads or tails of this, of what's happening or what's being called. The thing I like about C Profile is you don't have to have access to the source code to know what's happening behind it. Like, you don't have to be contributing to the original code. If you want to see what's happening, you can just run it on your existing code and then start dialing into it and seeing, like, okay, well, when I ran this function, it called all of these other things, which is really calling all of this stuff behind the scenes. And from there, you're able then, if you really want to, be dangerous or walk on the wild side, you can just edit your local version of the code that you've imported. So from there, it's you can make edits to your own model. But again, this isn't necessarily for benchmarking. It's just good for getting a better understanding of what's actually happening in your code.